story starts with this girl named Che. She works as a taxi driver. One day, this guy gets into her taxi, and she greets him normally. But instead of answering properly, he just keeps staring at her, looking completely shocked because she's a girl driving the taxi. She just looks at him and goes, "What? Why are you looking so shocked?" "Don't worry, I'm actually one of the best drivers out there." The guy tells her it's his first time ever riding with a female driver. And then, of course, he starts talking about how she's too young for this kind of job, asking if she really plans to keep doing this when she gets older, or pregnant someday. Apparently, there are better jobs for women. Che scoffs and turns the music up louder. The guy tells her to lower it, but she straight up refuses. "I'm not turning it down. You clearly don't plan on shutting up anytime soon, and I'm really not trying to listen to all that." Then she snaps back. "Don't act like you own me just because you're sitting back there. We're both sitting in seats. The only difference is you're relaxing while doing absolutely nothing. Driving you around doesn't mean you bought me." And without even hesitating, she adds, "I could literally control your life right now." And suddenly, she slams the brakes and starts speeding like crazy. The guy completely freaks out and starts yelling at her, threatening to sue her for treating customers like this. But Che just laughs it off. "Oh really?" says the guy who started smoking in my taxi. "This isn't a smoking area and I can barely breathe." Eventually they arrive, and she tells him the fare is $7. Honestly relieved he was finally out of her taxi. But the second he leaves, she realizes she got strangely angry back there. She tries calming herself down, but she can't. Lately, every little thing people say has been getting under her skin. Then suddenly, she hears a familiar voice, and immediately recognizes it. It belongs to a guy from her church named Yoon Soo, and he's walking with a girl. The next day, Che goes to church to pray. She apologizes for the way she's been treating people lately, even if they were technically the problem. Then one of her friends walks over and asks if something's bothering her, and Che goes, "No, not at all. People have just been getting on my nerves lately." Then she says she's praying for them so God forgives them. Between us, she's definitely praying against them instead. Anyway, she notices Yoon Soo there, and apparently every girl in the church sees him as this perfect guy. He helps everyone, never pays attention to girls, basically the ideal man. One of the girls even says, "There's probably no girl good enough for him." Che smiles and casually cuts into the conversation. And honestly, that ended up being the biggest mistake of her life. "I saw him yesterday with a girl though, right Yoon? Or was that your sister and I got confused?" Then she casually walks away, leaving him completely stunned, while all the girls around him start freaking out asking when this happened. Yoon Soo quickly follows her while she's sitting in her taxi and asks if she's working right now. She says yeah, so he asks her for a ride. She opens the trunk for his bags and he gets in, and while driving, Che starts thinking about how they've literally never even said hi to each other before, and suddenly this guy randomly asks her for a ride. Then he quietly asks where exactly she saw him yesterday. So she explains that she was working and saw him, by coincidence, walking with a girl, then apologizes if she made things awkward for him back at church. Then he suddenly asks, "Do you remember what the girl looked like?" And instantly, Che tenses up. No, not really." At this point, our girl is already stressed. Eventually, they arrive, but the second he gets out, she feels like she can finally breathe again, like she was literally suffocating while he was sitting beside her. Yoon Soo glances at her, and immediately, Che panics and drives off fast, only to realize later his bag is still in the taxi. And even though she feels guilty, she seriously does not want to see him again or get involved with him any further. Then suddenly, her phone rings, unknown number. And the second she answers, she recognizes his voice immediately. "You're probably calling about your bag." But before she can even say anything else, he cuts her off immediately. "Keep it." And honestly, that instantly throws her off. Then he quietly asks, "Wait, you still haven't opened it?" And Che goes, "Why would I open something that doesn't belong to me?" Then, in the calmest voice possible, he tells her to open it, and if she likes what's inside, she can keep it. So Che slowly opens the bag and instantly freezes, because inside the bag is the dead body of the girl who was with him. And with the calmest voice imaginable, he says, "If you don't like it, bury it." And that's it. Che completely loses it. She instantly starts imagining herself in court getting sentenced to 5 years in prison for murder. She immediately yells that she's going to report him and that she literally has proof from the taxi security cameras. "You do realize taxis have cameras now, right?" Then she demands to know why he killed the girl, but instead of panicking, she just bursts out laughing. "Right, I forgot about the cameras. Sure, go report me. It's not like I can do anything about it." And then suddenly, his tone changes completely. Or are you scared because you've been in prison before? Che immediately tells him she'll leave the taxi open so he can come get his bag himself, but he refuses, saying there's nothing forcing him to take it back. Then he hangs up. Che desperately tries calming herself down and reminds herself that she still has the camera footage. So she opens the recordings and gets hit with an even bigger shock. Yoon-soo never appears in the footage at all. It literally looks like she was talking to herself the entire time. And right there, she gives up, because nobody would ever believe her. So she drives deep into an empty forest area and decides to bury the body herself while absolutely terrified, completely out of her mind, unable to understand who Yoon-soo really is, or how he completely disappeared from the camera footage, even though he was literally sitting beside her in the taxi. And the whole time, she keeps trying to encourage herself, just hoping the day ends safely so she can bury the girl and go home. She even apologizes to the dead girl because she couldn't get justice for her. But the moment she finishes burying the body, she suddenly hears the sound of a camera recording. She slowly turns around and sees Yoon-soo filming her. Then he tells her he finally found her weakness, and now he can control her. Che instantly smacks his hand and knocks the phone away, then runs toward it trying to grab it, but suddenly, her whole body freezes. She can't move anymore. Yoon-soo calmly picks up the phone and tells her the thing he hates most is when humans pretend to be good people. Then, he quietly tells her she has no choice but to obey him unless she wants to end up back in prison. And then, he gives her an order. Every week, she has to bring one passenger to whatever location he chooses. Then, he hands her a paper with the address written on it. Basically, because she works as a taxi driver, every week, she now has to lure one of her passengers to whatever place he tells her to. And now, 6 days have already passed since everything happened. She only has 24 hours left to finish the mission Yoon-soo gave her. She has to bring someone to a place called Ilicheondong, and at this point, she has absolutely no idea what to do anymore. So she goes back to sit in her taxi, hoping things might finally get better. And honestly, she starts regretting her luck. Like seriously, out of all people, why did this have to happen to her? Suddenly, a drunk customer gets into her taxi. Che immediately tells him she's not working right now, but the guy instantly looks annoyed and goes, "You don't want to drive me just because I'm drunk? Is this how you treat your customers?" And before she can even answer properly, he casually tells her to take him to Ilicheondong. The second Che hears that name, she freezes, like her entire body just locked up for a second. She starts convincing herself this has to be a coincidence. No way Yoon-soo could know she was going to the exact same place he mentioned before, especially since she never even contacted him. It has to be a coincidence. Just a really messed up coincidence. Eventually they arrive, and Che quietly turns around to tell the man they're there, but he's gone. Completely gone. And at this point, Che genuinely feels like she's losing her mind. She goes back home and spends the entire day replaying the taxi camera footage over and over again, trying to understand what the hell is happening to her. How does somebody just disappear like that? And then suddenly, she starts thinking about Yoon-soo again. Did he somehow manipulate her into going there? Or maybe, did he already know she was going to end up there before she even realized it herself? After thinking about it for a long time, Che decides to go to church. Maybe because she wants answers, or maybe because she just doesn't know where else to go anymore. But right before entering, she suddenly remembers the girl she buried, and instantly, fear takes over. So she quietly turns around, planning to just go back home instead, but then, she sees Yoon-soo standing right in front of her, and beside him is a little boy. The two of them walk into the church together, and as Che follows behind them, Yoon-soo suddenly shuts the door right in her face. Che follows them inside anyway, and one of the girls from church immediately starts checking on the little boy after hearing he had been sick recently. Then the boy suddenly asks about a girl from church named Ji-hee, and the girl explains that Ji-hee usually comes at night. And this is where we finally find out the little boy's name, Gyorum. And apparently, he comes to church with Yoon-soo every single week. Immediately, Che starts wondering if the kid knows who Yoon-soo really is. And honestly, why is Yoon-soo even so attached to a little kid in the first place? At this point, she's already convinced Gyorum might just be another one of his victims. Then suddenly, Gyorum walks over and quietly sits beside her. And right away, Che gets this weird feeling, almost like the boy and Yoon-soo are somehow similar. And that feeling only gets worse when he suddenly hands her a piece of paper and says he's excited to work with her. Che immediately raises her voice. "Who gave you this paper?" And the boy quietly looks at her and says, "You already know, and you shouldn't raise your voice in here." There. Che realizes Yoon-soo was the one who gave it to him. The second they leave the church, she throws the paper right at Yoon-soo and demands to know why he's doing all this to her. Don't you think this is completely messed up? Then she tells him she's stubborn and there's no way she's ever going to listen to him. But the second he threatens her with the video, she snaps. I'm not going down alone. Do whatever you want. You're getting dragged into this too. And I'll tell everyone the truth about you, especially the people in this church. But instead of reacting, Yoon-soo just stares at her quietly for a second. Then he says, that's strange, considering you did your job perfectly yesterday. Che immediately fires back, saying the man already lived near that area anyway. But Yoon-soo just gives her this small smile. Pretty strange coincidence, don't you think? Che demands to know what he did to that man, but he completely ignores the question. And the second she raises her voice again, Kyoram suddenly starts crying. The boy grabs onto Che and innocently says he doesn't want to leave because he wants to play with her. And of course, everyone instantly falls for the act. Yoon-soo gently takes the boy's hand, leaves the paper in Che's hands, and before walking away, he quietly says, "Good luck." At this point, Che is completely furious, so she jumps into her taxi and decides she's finally going to figure out who Yoon-soo really is and what exactly he did to that man. She starts following him, but the longer she follows him, the weirder the route starts feeling. And eventually, he stops in front of an orphanage. And honestly, it almost feels like he already knows she's following him, but he just walks inside without even looking back at her. Then suddenly, a girl walks out and says, "Yoon-soo told us someone would be coming with him to volunteer today. Is that you?" And instantly, Che realizes he knew she was following him the entire time. At this point, Che tells herself she's not some easy toy he can control. If Yoon-soo wants to play mind games with her, then she'll play the exact same game back. So she smiles and tells the girl, "Yeah, I came with Yoon-soo." She walks inside and finds Yoon-soo reading stories to the children. Then she asks the girl if she can volunteer near Yoon-soo since it's her first day there. But the girl immediately refuses and explains, "We don't allow two volunteers in the same area. And even if you came every day, we still wouldn't let you spend time with the children." Che asks why, and the girl explains that children get attached way too quickly, and eventually those people leave them behind. Che points out that Yoon-soo spends time with them though, and the girl smiles. Yoon-soo is basically an angel to these kids. He donates to the orphanage, supports the place, and visits 2 or 3 times every month to spend time with them. I mean, you probably already know that since he brought you here. Then she brings Che into the kitchen and casually tells her to wash the dishes. And honestly, Che is already irritated. She came all this way trying to uncover Yoon-soo's secrets, only to end up washing dishes. And somehow she still can't even get close to him. Then suddenly, one of the little girls asks Yoon-soo for a drink, but there aren't any clean cups left. So Yoon-soo brings her into the kitchen, right where Che is standing, and he calmly tells the child, "Ask her to get you a cup." Che forces a smile and says she's not really used to this kind of thing. Then she grabs a glass to hand it over, but suddenly, it slips from her hand and shatters all over the floor. The broken glass cuts her hand instantly. Che immediately tells Yoon-soo to take the child away while she cleans everything up. But instead of moving, he just stands there, completely still. And then suddenly, he starts walking directly over the broken glass. "Wait, be careful, you're gonna hurt yourself!" But Yoon-soo isn't even listening anymore. He slowly starts walking toward her, and Che can literally feel herself getting scared. Then he grabs her hand, slowly opens his mouth, and smiles in this terrifying way. But suddenly, he snaps back to reality the second he hears the little girl crying. Right then, the woman running the orphanage walks in and asks what happened. Yoon-soo immediately lets go of Che's hand and calmly explains that she only got hurt because the glass broke. Then he leaves the orphanage, saying he suddenly has something important to do. And honestly, Che is terrified after what just happened, because once again, she couldn't move. Exactly like before when she buried the girl. Che tells herself she needs to pull herself together, follow him, and finally figure out the truth. But the second she runs outside, he's already gone. So she goes back home and starts replaying everything that happened over and over again in her head. And honestly, this was the first time she had ever seen Yoon-soo genuinely angry. Usually he's always smiling, which somehow makes this even creepier. And then suddenly, she remembers something important. Her hand was bleeding, and right after Yoon-soo saw the blood, his eyes turned yellow. That immediately sends Che searching online for anything related to yellow eyes and blood, but all she finds are warning posts telling people to run away if they ever see someone with yellow eyes, because once those people notice you, they never stop chasing you. Then suddenly, she comes across this weird blog called Vampire Castle. Out of pure curiosity, she sends a request to join, and once she gets accepted, she finds herself chatting with the owner of the blog, someone calling himself the Holder of Darkness. The guy asks her if she's ready to become a vampire, then tells her the very first step is performing a vampire ritual. And what happens if I don't do it? Then it means you're still not ready to become one. At this point, Che honestly feels kind of stupid and almost leaves immediately, but her curiosity keeps dragging her back, even though the entire thing sounds absolutely ridiculous. Eventually, she decides to keep going just to satisfy her curiosity. The ritual says she has to use blood and write a message in a very specific way. But because Che isn't dumb enough to actually do that, she grabs ketchup instead and writes the entire thing using that. And honestly, she feels ridiculously embarrassed while doing it. What makes it even worse is the fact that she somehow keeps thinking about Yoon-soo the entire time. But after finishing the ritual, she finally gains access to the hidden posts inside the blog. And right there, she finds warnings about people with yellow eyes. According to the blog, they're vampires. The post starts explaining their traits: pale skin, sharp fangs, and eyes that change color whenever they see blood. And apparently, vampires can also freeze people in place so they can't move at all. Exactly like what keeps happening to Che whenever she's around Yoon-soo. And at the very end of the post, there's one final warning. If you ever see someone with yellow eyes, run away immediately, because from that moment on, they'll keep watching you forever. But Che honestly doesn't believe any of this nonsense. She just gets annoyed thinking about how she went through all that trouble over something that sounds straight out of a vampire movie and probably isn't even real. So she leaves feeling irritated and decides to just focus on work and making money. But at the same time, if there's even a small chance all of this might actually be real, then she needs to figure out the truth herself. Meanwhile, someone with yellow eyes is quietly watching her from a distance. Then suddenly, another girl gets into Che's taxi, but at this point, Che is already beyond tense. She keeps feeling like she's seeing Yoon-soo everywhere, and honestly, she starts convincing herself it's probably because she spent way too much time reading all that creepy stuff from the vampire blog. The girl quietly asks her to turn off the AC because it's cold, and Che immediately apologizes, saying she didn't even notice it was on before quickly turning it off. But the second she looks in the mirror, she freezes, because Yoon-soo is sitting in the back seat, staring directly at her. That's better. Che instantly freaks out and slams the brakes. The passenger gets irritated, gets out of the taxi, and starts complaining about who even drives like that. And after that, things only get worse. Everywhere Che goes, she keeps seeing Yoon-soo standing there with those yellow eyes locked onto her. No matter where she looks, he's there. And that's when she starts remembering what she read online. Then suddenly, she notices Yoon-soo's car pulling up beside her, and he throws a piece of paper into her taxi. At this point, our girl is done. She finally decides to go to the police station, and while standing outside, she starts thinking to herself, should I actually report him, or is nobody going to believe me anyway? But right then, some drunk guy walks into the station, bragging loudly to his friends about how nobody can report him anymore because the second he throws money around, everybody suddenly shuts up. Then he notices Che standing there and goes, "What, you just gonna stand there all day? Weren't you here to report somebody or something?" Immediately, Che panics. "No, not at all. Where are you going? I can take you." So the guy gives her the address, and for the entire ride, he just keeps talking non-stop about how money can solve literally anything. He even casually admits that earlier that day, while drunk, he accidentally hit someone. But the second he offered money, the guy immediately stopped talking about suing him. Then suddenly, he asks if he can smoke inside the taxi. Che refuses immediately, and the guy just laughs. "I'll pay you whatever amount you want." But Che still says no. "Looks like your hobby is solving everything with money. But when I say no smoking, that means no smoking." And that instantly pisses him off. So he tells her to stop the taxi. And honestly, poor Che thinks he's just mad and about to leave, so she quietly tells him the fare. But instead, he tells her to get out. Then he suddenly starts aggressively trying to open the door. Che immediately gets nervous and quickly locks the door properly, scared he might actually hurt her. And that just makes him even angrier. He starts banging hard on the window while yelling at her to get out. So Che quickly decides to drive away. But before she can even move, the guy suddenly climbs back into the taxi. "Where exactly are you planning to run? Or did you think I was joking when I said I hit people? What, are you stupid or something?" Now obviously Che wasn't about to stay quiet. "Oh really? Then explain it to me." The guy stares at her for a second and says, "Apologize." At this point, Che is desperately trying to calm the situation down, so she actually apologizes. But then suddenly, he grabs her wrist tightly and warns her not to piss him off again. And that's when Che finally snaps. She tells him to get out because she's not driving him anywhere anymore. She even threatens to take him straight to the police station if he refuses to leave. But the guy starts kicking the seat aggressively and yells, "Just keep driving, and if you stop the car, I'll kill you." And right then, Che suddenly notices a place called Sabomnaru and immediately remembers that exact same location was written on the paper Yoon-soo gave her. So she thinks to herself, at this point, I just need to get rid of him. So she quickly drives there, and the second they arrive, she sees Yoon-soo already standing there waiting for her. "Good job. You did really well." Then he literally starts clapping for her. And just like that, the drunk man behind her disappears. At this point, Che's nerves are completely destroyed. She drives away trembling. But then, suddenly, she notices Yoon-soo sitting inside the taxi with her again. What's wrong? Why are you ignoring me like you can't see me? Meanwhile, Che keeps trying to convince herself he isn't real, that she's hallucinating, hoping he'd disappear if she ignored him long enough. But he just keeps talking to her. He tells her she's been getting way too reckless with her taxi job lately and asks how she plans to keep working like this. Then suddenly he says, "How about you quit driving taxis and work for me instead?" And right there, Che realizes he's actually real, not her imagination. Then Yoon-soo quietly says, "You seem tired today." And surprisingly, he thanks her, then tells her he'll let this one slide, but she better not try using him again. And what he meant was, she only brought that guy there because she wanted to get rid of him herself. Yoon-soo tells her he doesn't need that many people. Just one person every week is enough. Then he disappears again, and Che immediately starts panicking over how he somehow knew exactly what she was thinking. How did he know she brought the guy there just to save herself? Could he actually be watching her all the time? At this point, it feels like she's suffocating. Eventually, she gets home, but she keeps replaying his words in her head over and over again, especially the part where he said he didn't need that many people. Then suddenly, she hears footsteps outside her house and someone calling her name. So she slowly opens the door, only to freeze in shock. It's her sister, Chansil. The two greet each other awkwardly and sit down together. Then Chansil quietly pulls out a wedding invitation. Her wedding is only a few days away. Che congratulates her and stands up to get her something to drink. But the second she stands, she suddenly drops to her knees. Her sister immediately asks if she's okay and what's wrong with her. And while listening to her, Che starts thinking to herself that her sister is probably the last person who would ever genuinely worry about her. So she suddenly asks, "What exactly do you mean by that?" And then Chansil quietly says, "Did you do something again? Like last time?" Then she reminds Che that if she causes another problem again, their uncle might not cover for her this time. After all, he's the one who spent money taking care of them. And right there, Che completely explodes. "So you didn't come here to invite me to your wedding or check on me at all. You just came to see if I caused another problem." Then she keeps yelling, "Even after I got out of prison, none of you checked on me. All of you ignored me and acted like I wasn't part of the family anymore." Then she tells her sister to leave immediately and says she'll think about whether she wants to attend the wedding or not. After Chansil leaves, Che just sits there feeling guilty about the way she spoke to her, because no matter what happened, it had been such a long time since the two of them last saw each other. And then, we get a flashback to the day their parents died, leaving Che and her sister completely alone. And ever since then, their grandmother and uncle always treated her sister better than her. Then we cut back to the present, and we see Gyeorum cooking, while Yoon-soo keeps telling him not to add butter or pepper because he's too sensitive to strong smells. And Gyeorum's just like, "Just eat and stay quiet." Then Yoon-soo asks if something's bothering him lately, but honestly, the problem is Che, because lately, Yoon-soo's been doing way too much unnecessary stuff just to provoke her. So Yoon-soo laughs and admits he never expected her to actually obey him. Usually, people either run away or completely give up. And Gyeorum goes, "Oh, so you found a new toy to play with." Then he says Che has to either be really brave or completely crazy like Yoon-soo himself to keep doing all this. And Gyeorum's like, all he needs is one person every month. Why is he asking Che for one every week? And Yoon-soo casually replies, "Because if it's only once a month, the game gets boring." So Gyeorum warns him not to play too much, or eventually, he might break his toy completely. The next day, they both go to church. And honestly, Yoon-soo only came to see Che's reaction and laugh at her. The second he sees her, he tells Gyeorum, "Look at her. She already looks terrified." He keeps talking about how nervous she looks just from thinking she might see him inside, and he's seriously excited to see her reaction. But in the end, he's the one who gets surprised, because the moment Che sees him, her expression turns completely cold. And when she walks in, she slams the church door right into him. And Gyeorum immediately goes, "Yeah, that definitely wasn't the reaction you wanted." Then Yoon-soo sits beside Che and hands her a paper, saying she already knows what she has to do. But Che coldly gives it back. "No, I don't. And I'm not doing this again." Yoon-soo keeps asking if she's scared, but Che finally snaps and tells him she's tired of living like this. And if he wants to report her, then go ahead. I'd rather stay in prison than keep seeing your disgusting face. Then she suddenly calls the police and hands him the phone. And for the first time, Yoon-soo actually looks shocked. But after a few seconds, he hangs up and gives the phone back. Then calmly says, "Reporting people is boring. I prefer killing them." But Che just tells him to kill her then. At this point, she already thought about every possible thing he could do to her, and she's ready for all of it. So Yoon-soo slowly leans closer and asks, "You really don't care if you die?" And then suddenly, he pulls her into his arms, and And just like that, the two of them disappear from the church. The next thing Che knew, she was lying on the ground. She immediately asked, "Where are we? And how did you do this?" But Yoon-soo completely ignored her question. Instead, he looked around and said, "What do you think? Pretty view, isn't it? Now, do you understand how crazy you sounded when you told me to hand you over to the police or kill you?" Then he looked at her and said, "I'm the one who decides, not you. That's why you need to stop acting recklessly and start listening. Got it? I'm letting you go this time." But before he could finish speaking, Che grabbed a piece of broken glass and jumped at him. She kept stabbing at his face while screaming, "Then kill me, or I'll kill you first!" As tears ran down her face, she kept asking him why he was doing all of this to her. Then she suddenly froze. The wounds on Yoon-soo's face were healing by themselves, and his eyes had turned yellow. Che stumbled backward in fear and said, "Who are you? I knew you weren't human. You're a vampire." Yoon-soo smiled. Then he grabbed her by the throat with overwhelming strength and said, "You don't need to know, because either way, you're going to die. This is your last chance. If you apologize, I'll let you go. So apologize quickly before you die." But Che refused. She looked straight at him and said, "There's no way I'm apologizing. If you're going to kill me, then do it. Hurry up." For the first time, Yoon-soo looked genuinely shocked by her answer, and that suddenly reminded him of something from the past. Back when Yoon-soo wasn't a vampire yet, he once met a strange man and asked him to turn him into one. But the man replied, "I don't turn living people into vampires." Yoon-soo immediately asked, "So only dead people can become vampires?" The man shook his head. "I didn't say that. I just said I'm not turning you into one. Now quit bothering me." But Yoon-soo refused to leave. Instead, he said, "I want you to turn me into a vampire so I can become strong like you and do whatever I want." The man instantly grabbed him by the neck the exact same way Yoon-soo was holding Che now. Then he said, "Sounds like you've got a pretty big dream. Hope it comes true someday." Right then, an older woman walked in and begged the man to let Yoon-soo go. She turned to Yoon-soo and told him to apologize, but Yoon-soo refused. He said there was no way he was apologizing. And that's when we realized something. Che's reaction just reminded Yoon-soo of that exact moment from his past. So back to the present, Yoon-soo had already thrown Che to the ground and left. When she finally woke up, he was gone. For a second, she actually thought he'd finally given up on her. Maybe he'd leave her alone for good. Honestly, she just hoped she'd never have to see his face again. So she went back to her normal life. One day, she had a passenger in her taxi when she suddenly noticed a piece of paper. Her first thought was that Yoon-soo had left it there, but when she picked it up, it was actually a wedding invitation from her sister. The passenger looked at it and said, "Kinda weird getting a paper invitation these days. Most people just send that stuff on their phones now. Must be someone really close to you." And Che told him, "Yeah, it's from my sister. I should probably go congratulate her." When she got ready for the wedding, she looked at herself and immediately thought she might have overdressed a little. After all, she was only planning to stop by, congratulate her sister, and leave. Then suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a reply from the person she'd contacted earlier about the vampire article. He said he wanted to meet her and hear more details, but Che just closed her phone. At this point, she didn't even care anymore. As far as she was concerned, that whole thing was over. When she arrived at the wedding venue, she immediately felt something was off. Then, out of nowhere, an older woman walked up behind her, and it was her grandmother. "You're Che? What are you doing here?" The second Che saw her, she tried her best to stay calm, because her grandmother immediately started insulting her, calling her jealous, bitter, and saying she had no business showing up somewhere like this. "You'll just ruin the wedding. You've been jealous of your sister your entire life." Che laughed sarcastically and said, "Yep, you got me. I came here to destroy the wedding. That's why I'm wearing a wedding dress too, right? So I can steal all the attention and make my sister jealous of me." And she calmed down a little and added, "I'm only here because my sister invited me." She showed her the invitation and tried to walk inside, but her grandmother grabbed her jacket and ripped it. And right then, her sister saw everything. Her friends asked who Che was, but instead of answering honestly, she pretended not to know her. That completely crushed Che, and in that moment, she realized her sister had probably been acting the whole time when she gave her that invitation. Then suddenly, a young man walked in, and every girl in the room immediately started talking about him. They couldn't stop talking about how handsome he was, and that person was Yoon-soo. The second he walked in, he headed straight toward Che. Then he smiled and said, "Hey miss, sorry I'm late. Took forever to find parking. What happened to your clothes?" And before she could even answer, he took off his jacket and put it around her shoulders. Then he greeted her grandmother and sister. The first thing Che's sister asked him was, "So, what's your relationship with her?" At this point, after hearing all the girls talk about how attractive Yoon-soo was, she was clearly getting jealous. But Che didn't stay quiet. "My boyfriend." Then her sister immediately asked, "Wait, you're rich?" And Yoon-soo replied, "Yeah, of course I am." The moment she heard that, everything changed. She instantly switched personalities. Suddenly, she was telling Che how proud she was of her and saying all kinds of nice things. Then the uncle showed up because of all the commotion. The second he saw Che, he asked, "What are you doing here?" But Yoon-soo cut him off and explained that he was Che's friend, and they were only there to congratulate her sister. And honestly, the second the uncle saw how handsome, stylish, and wealthy Yoon-soo looked, he changed too. He welcomed both of them. Then he started asking Che how she was doing and how her taxi job was going, and Che couldn't help laughing. "Wow, you all changed pretty fast the second you saw Yoon-soo." Then she turned to Yoon-soo and said, "Come on, give them the wedding money so we can leave." Yoon-soo pulled out his wallet, and it was absolutely packed with cash. He apologized for forgetting an envelope, but her uncle and grandmother immediately said it wasn't a problem at all. Just showing up was already enough. Of course, they still took the money. And after that, they started praising Che non-stop and talking about how happy they were that she'd met someone like Yoon-soo. But all that fake behavior just made Che sick, so she grabbed Yoon-soo and tried to leave. But while walking away, she caught the exact same look in his eyes that he'd had when she buried that girl's body, and she froze. Because suddenly, she remembered something. The thing Yoon-soo hated most was hypocrisy. And if there was one thing her family was full of, it was hypocrisy. So she immediately tried dragging him out of there. But Yoon-soo just said, "Not sure when I'll see your family again. Let's stay a little longer." Still, Che forced him outside. The second they left, she asked, "What are you planning to do to my family?" Yoon-soo smiled. "I'm glad I came with you. Now I got to meet your family. Your sister doesn't seem as strong as you. Looks like she's never seen anything truly terrifying before. I wonder what she'll do if she finds out what I really am. But if you go back to being obedient like before, nothing will happen. Your sister won't see anything frightening." Then he handed her a piece of paper. "The choice is yours. I'll be waiting for your answer." After that, Che decided to meet the person she'd been talking to online about the website. The man told her he normally didn't meet people in person, but she seemed serious enough for him to make an exception. So Che told him everything, including the fact that someone was following her, and that person was a vampire. The second he heard that word, his expression changed. "Don't say that word again. They don't like people talking about them." Che told him the whole story. She explained that Yoon-soo was obsessed with her, constantly watching her, and might even be watching them right now. But the man replied, "That doesn't automatically mean he's one of them." Then Che asked if he'd ever seen someone with yellow eyes before, and the second he realized she actually had, he completely lost it. "Where did you see him? Was it a man or a woman? How do you know him?" Question after question after question. Che stared at him. Honestly, he seemed a little crazy, so she told him, "Can you calm down and ask one question at a time?" But instead, he grabbed her face and forced her eyes open in a weird attempt to make sure she was human and not a vampire. That instantly annoyed her. "Are you insane? If I was a vampire, why would I come here in the first place? You seriously seem like some kind of creep." Eventually, he calmed down and asked her to tell him anything unusual Yoon-soo had done. Che immediately remembered how Yoon-soo had ordered her to bring him one person every week. But she couldn't tell him that, because if any of those people were found dead or reported missing, she could end up getting blamed too. So instead she said, "Look, I came here so you could tell me how to get rid of this vampire." The second she said the word again, he got angry. "Be quiet! How many times do I have to tell you not to say that?" Che just stared at him in shock. After calming down, he finally said, "First, we need to confirm whether this person really is one. And the easiest way to do that? Take me to him. I'll tell you exactly what he is." Like it's that easy. Then he continued, "Once I see him, I'll show you how to get rid of him." But Che stood up and left. "Thanks for trying, but you honestly seem crazy. I don't think you can help me." And as she walked away, she couldn't stop thinking. The pressure from her family was getting worse. She'd actually had a little hope in this guy, but now she felt even more disappointed. And on top of that, she knew that if she took him to Yoon-soo, he'd probably disappear or die just like everyone else. Worst of all, today was the deadline, the day she was supposed to bring someone to Yoon-soo. So taking this man there was way too dangerous, because Yoon-soo might assume she brought him as prey and turned him into dinner. Then an older woman gets into Che's taxi and tells her she's heading to a place called Sunggimdong, and it's her first time going there. Too bad she ever decided to go, because that's the exact same place written on the paper Yoon-soo gave Che. Meanwhile, the researcher Che talked to earlier is still following her. He wants to know if she was actually telling the truth. Did she really see someone with yellow eyes, or was she just making the whole thing up? While driving, Che overhears the woman talking to her friend about her daughter, and that hits her hard, because if she goes through with this, she's taking a mother away from her child. But protecting her family from Yoon-soo comes first, because if she disobeys him, She could lose all of them. Lost in thought, Che suddenly hears the woman say, "Here, try some. My daughter made it. I don't eat bread." But the woman keeps insisting, and Che finally snaps. "I said I don't eat bread. Just get out of the taxi. I don't even want the fare anymore." The only reason she said that was because she was worried about the woman. She didn't want her daughter losing her mother, but unfortunately, the woman refuses. "What do you mean, get out? Is that how you treat customers?" Then she spots a police station. "Fine, I'll go report you. Maybe that'll teach you some manners and show you how to treat people older than you. Fine, forget it. I'll take you there." The woman hands her the bread again. "Eat it later," almost like she was saying, "You'll regret this." And eventually, Che arrives at the location written on the paper. The whole way there, she feels awful. She keeps thinking about what she's about to do, but then something doesn't make sense. The woman is still sitting right behind her. "I told you to take me to the street ahead, not here." Che freezes. Nothing happened. The woman is completely fine, which makes no sense at all. Why didn't Yoon-soo take her? There's no way he forgot the date written on that paper, so something definitely happened. After dropping her off, Che notices a car nearby. Then suddenly, a camera flash goes off by accident, and she immediately recognizes the car. She's been seeing it ever since the woman got into her taxi. She just never knew who was inside. Later, she heads to church and finds Gyeorum waiting there. He hands her a piece of paper and tells her to call Yoon-soo, but Che shakes her head. "I need to talk to him first." And Gyeorum replies, "Do what you're told and stay quiet." That instantly irritates her. "I did exactly what he told me to do. He's the one who didn't take the woman." And Gyeorum replies, "How was he supposed to take her when you brought someone with you?" And just like that, Che finally understands that car really was following her. After the service ends, an older woman approaches Yoon-soo. "Yoon-soo, why don't you join me for a coffee? It's on me." Before Yoon-soo can even answer, Che suddenly cuts in. "No, I'll pay for everyone this time. I couldn't last time." Gyeorum immediately cuts her off. "My uncle and I are busy. We can't make it." But surprisingly, Yoon-soo agrees. And Gyeorum just thinks to himself, are these people seriously insane? I'm getting out of here. After leaving the church, Che spots that same car again. The researcher is sitting inside. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice you've been following me since yesterday? I just wanted to make sure your story was true." And then Che says something completely unexpected. "Good, then keep watching. If you want to see strange things, like vampires for example." The researcher just stares at her. He has absolutely no idea what she means. But one thing is obvious. Che is planning something, and whatever it is, it involves Yoon-soo. Anyway, they all head to a cafe together. The woman from church looks at Che and asks, "So you're paying for everyone? Let me guess. You just wanted some alone time with Yoon-soo and were getting in the way, right?" And Che immediately replies, "Not at all. I actually want you guys to stay, so I can feel safe." That makes both of them stare at her. Safe? From what? Wait, are you actually scared of Yoon-soo? Yoon-soo joins the conversation. "Don't worry, I've been behaving a lot better lately, and honestly, I'm proud of her too." That just confuses them even more. "Hold on, are you two dating or something?" "No, we've just been co-workers for a while, and I'm proud of her because she's good at her job." That immediately gets on Che's nerves. She stands up to get coffee, and in her head she's like, "Oh really? Let me show you what this amazing co-worker of yours has been doing. Who treats a co-worker like that? Threatening her, choking her." That's when she decides to expose him. She doesn't want a vampire casually living among people from the church, and maybe, if everyone finds out what he really is, he'll finally leave her alone. She had a sharp object with her, and when she returns to the table, she deliberately spills the coffee, then scratches her hand and makes it look like she got hurt by the broken cup, all because she wants everyone to see what happens when Yoon-soo smells blood. And it works. His expression changes, and his eyes turn yellow. Che quickly says, "I'm fine." But honestly, Yoon-soo doesn't look fine at all. And suddenly, Che finds herself somewhere completely different, a beautiful place filled with flowers. Meanwhile, the researcher is taking pictures, and that's when he notices something terrifying. Everyone is frozen. Nobody moves, except Yoon-soo. He's the only one still moving. And that's when we realize Yoon-soo used his power and froze everyone. He slowly moves toward Che and is about to bite her, but right before he does, he hears a strange sound and immediately snaps back to his senses. Then he looks at her and says, "What you just did was actually pretty funny." And just like that, everything returns to normal. The people with Che immediately notice her injury. "We need to get you to a hospital right now. That cut looks bad." At that moment, Yoon-soo suddenly leaves, and everyone is left wondering what was wrong with him. Che tells them she'll go to the hospital herself, but she needs to leave immediately because she wants to see the photos the researcher took. She gets into his car and asks, "Did you bring the bandages I asked for?" He hands them over. "Before I show you the pictures, tell me what happened back there." And Che replies, "I honestly don't know. It felt like I was dreaming, and then I woke up." The researcher looks at her and says, "Everybody froze for an entire minute. Nobody moved, except that guy. He kept walking towards you." Che immediately says, "Show me the pictures." But when she grabs the camera, there's nothing there. Not a single photo. She stares at him and says, "Wait, are you sure you actually took them?" The researcher grabs the camera and freezes too, because she's right, the photos are gone. Che gets out of the car, then looks at him and says, "Stop following me, and stop looking into vampire stuff. Just run, for your own sake," because now she knows. Everything that happened was because of Yoon-soo. The researcher just sits there confused. He clearly remembers taking 3 pictures. 3, not 1, 3. Then suddenly, he notices someone staring at him. It's Yoon-soo. That's when we realize what happened. Yoon-soo heard the camera shutter and somehow deleted the photos. How did he do it? Nobody knows, but it's definitely connected to his vampire abilities. Later, Yoon-soo returns to Gyeorum. He hands him the jacket and says, "Burn it." Then he starts talking to himself. How did I fall for something this obvious? I must be getting old. But then his expression changes because he knows he has to deal with this problem. The next trap Che sets could be even worse. After thinking for a moment, he suddenly smiles and says he's going to pay her back for this little joke. Basically, if you mess with me, I'll mess with you too. A moment later, Gyeorum looks at him and asks, "Where are you going?" And Yoon-soo replies, "The basement." That instantly shocks Gyeorum. What are you going to do down there? But honestly, Yoon-soo isn't thinking about anything except Che and what she just did to him, and it's pretty obvious he wants revenge. Then he walks down into the basement, and down there, someone is lying on the floor. The episode opens with a truck driver spotting a coffin right in the middle of the road, so he immediately calls the police. When the officers arrive and open it, they find a dead body inside. At the same time, Che is sitting at a cafe watching the news, and she can't believe someone could do something that cruel. Then she overhears a guy telling his friend, "Man, never get into a taxi drunk again. You could end up just like that poor guy they found in the coffin. They found him in Cheongdong, and the last time anyone saw him, he was on his way to a dinner party before he disappeared." The second Che hears that the man disappeared at night and was heading to Cheongdong, she instantly remembers the drunk passenger she drove that night. She freezes, quickly pays for her drink, rushes out, and she's so shaken she even forgets to take her change. The moment she gets home, she grabs her camera and checks the recording from the day she brought the first victim to Yoon-soo. The date says the 25th. She immediately searches for the date the man in the coffin disappeared. It's the 25th! That's when it all clicks. It has to be the same man. And Yoon-soo did it, to get back at her for what she tried to do to him. Now every piece of evidence could point straight at Che, especially if the police check the security cameras along the road. She completely panics, because she realizes she could get arrested at any moment. Then, she suddenly remembers she still has one of Yoon-soo's jacket buttons from the cafe, and she starts thinking, maybe she can use it as evidence against him. She remembers how terrified she used to be when she was little, scared of everything, but not anymore. Now she's ready to grab onto her last chance, no matter what it takes. She takes the button, goes back to the girl she buried before, places Yoon-soo's button next to the body, hoping it'll become evidence. Then she puts the body inside a suitcase, leaves it in the middle of the road, and waits for the news to report that someone found it. For a moment, she thinks about putting everything back, but then she tells herself, I've already started, so I have to see this through. That night, she falls asleep, waiting for any news about the girl. Then she dreams that someone's chasing her. She spots a rope and runs toward it, thinking it's her only way out. But when she gets closer, she realizes it's a hanging rope. She suddenly wakes up from the nightmare, and right away, she sees an article saying the body has been found. She immediately puts a hand over her chest, terrified they might not have found Yoon-soo's button. She opens the article, but there's nothing, not a single word about them finding any evidence. Che tries to calm herself down, telling herself they probably just haven't found the button yet, but sooner or later, they definitely will. At the same time, Yoon-soo is watching the same news, and instead of looking worried, he just smirks. I seriously thought Che was smarter than this. Turns out, she's actually pretty dumb. Then he unlocks his phone and quietly says, should I use those pictures against her or not? The photos he's talking about are the ones he secretly took of Che burying the girl's body. But then he changes his mind. No, I've got something that'll make her regret this way more. Just then, Gyeorum walks in. You're insane. At this rate, you're gonna expose the fact that we're vampires yourself. Yoon-soo doesn't even flinch. I've never made a mistake that exposed us. But Gyeorum shakes his head. Yesterday wasn't normal. The way you acted, the way you handed me your jacket and told me to burn it. You weren't yourself. One day, if you lose control like that again, you might actually slip up. Right then, Yoon-soo's phone starts ringing. He answers it, and it's his father. So what? You're planning to repeat the same mistake you made 30 years ago? Looks like you won't stop until you expose our kind to the whole world. Yoon-soo immediately asks, what are you talking about? His father replies, they found your jacket button with the body. The second Yoon-soo hears that, his entire expression changes. For the first time, he actually looks scared and furious. His father tells him they've stayed hidden for thousands of years because they've always protected their secret. They lived quietly, worked for powerful and wealthy people, and always helped each other whenever one of them was in danger of being exposed. Everything you're doing right now is nothing but stupidity. Then he says he'll clean everything up. The coffin, the button, every trace, like none of it ever happened. But there's a price. Yoon-soo isn't allowed to hunt for an entire month. He can't freely use money anymore, and he's forbidden from living among humans for a while. As his father starts bringing up what what happened 30 years ago, Yoon-soo immediately cuts him off. Stop, don't say another word. His father quietly replies, the kid with you is standing right there, isn't he? You really thought I wouldn't know you were hiding him? Yoon-soo practically begs him to stay quiet. So his father ends the conversation. I've said what I needed to say. And then he hangs up. Yoon-soo is stunned that his father already knows about Kyorum. Then his mind immediately goes back to the button. He already knows. Nobody could have done that except Che. And after calling her stupid just moments ago, he finally admits something. She actually outsmarted him. She'd been planning this ever since the day they went to the cafe. He turns to Kyorum and says, keep an eye on that researcher who's been following Che. As for me, I'll have to stay quiet for a while. Then he throws his phone into the water, getting rid of it completely. And that's when we jump back 30 years into the past. Back then, Yoon-soo was living all by himself. Suddenly, someone named Seon knocks on his door, and he's not alone. Sun walks in carrying a little boy in his arms. Yoon-soo looks at the child and asks, who's that? Seon replies, that's my son. Yoon-soo pauses. Your son? Yeah, my son. His name's Kyorum. After Seon walks inside, Yoon-soo asks him, so, the woman you met 10 years ago, was she Kyorum's mother? And where is she now? But Seon doesn't answer. Not a single word. Instead, blood is dripping from his mouth. We cut back to Che. She's hiding out, just trying to stay out of sight until the police find the button next to the body. But out of nowhere, the researcher walks up behind her and says, you promised you'd tell me the truth after I did what you asked. Or were you just gonna leave me to deal with all of this while you ran away? And that's when we find out something huge. It wasn't Che who left the body or the button on the road. She asked the researcher to do it for her. In exchange, she promised to tell him everything she knew about Yoon-soo. So she finally tells him everything. She explains that Yoon-soo ordered her to bring him one person every single week, and she believes those people are his food. She also tells him about Yoon-soo's abilities, how he can freeze people in place and even hypnotize them. Then she adds, the worst part is, everyone thinks he's the perfect guy. He donates to children's charities, and the button you placed with the body, that button belongs to Yoon-soo. I took it from his jacket when we were at the cafe. The second the researcher hears that, his face completely changes. He slowly pulls out another button, exactly the same one. Then he says, I found this when I was a kid. I've searched everywhere to figure out what brand it came from, but I never found anything. Che stares at it and immediately asks, where did you find it? How did you get it? The researcher takes a deep breath and starts telling her a story from 30 years ago. Back then, I had a friend named Han-suk. We used to play together all the time, but every time I walked him home, there was always this strange man standing outside his house. One day, the man was there again. So I asked Han-suk, do you know that guy? He just said, no. So I said goodbye and told him to come over to my house that night. Then I went home. Later that night, I asked my mom if Han-suk had come over. She said, no. So I figured he was probably waiting for me instead. I headed to his house because we were supposed to play together. But when I got there, everything was completely quiet. So I turned around to leave. Then I heard a strange noise. I hid and looked toward Han-suk's house, and that's when I saw it. The same strange man. The one who always stood outside. He bit Han-suk's mother and killed her. I was so scared. I couldn't even move. I passed out. When I finally woke up, the man was gone, and the only thing left behind was this button lying on the stairs. After that day, Han-suk disappeared. It was like he'd never existed, to the point where I started wondering if I'd imagined him the whole time. Then the researcher looks at Che and says, this button is identical to Yoon-soo's. There's no way that's a coincidence. I'm sure Yoon-soo is the one who killed Han-suk's mother. At that exact moment, Kyorum overhears everything, and he quietly says, my mom, Yoon-soo, killed my mom? And that's when we finally realize Han-suk was Kyorum all along. But how did everything end up like this? Let's keep going. Che can't bring herself to believe the researcher. She tells him to hide. Someone could be watching them. But the researcher isn't ready to let her go. He still has so many questions. He wants every single detail about everything that's happened. But Che doesn't answer. She leaves him behind, gets into a taxi, and heads straight for the station. After leaving him behind, her phone starts ringing. She glances at the screen and sighs. Seriously, this guy's stubborn. Then she hangs up. A second later, a new message pops up from the Vampire Castle forum. At first, she assumes it's the researcher again, but when she opens it, she freezes. The message is from the forum's admin, someone calling himself the Dark Reaper. I've got important information about Yoon-soo. Meet me at the church where you always pray. Che immediately wonders, could the forum owner actually be Yoon-soo? But then she quickly shakes her head. That doesn't sound like him at all. If Yoon-soo wanted to see her, he'd just show up out of nowhere. So she heads to the church. The doors are already open. She walks inside and stops in her tracks. Kyorum is standing there. Don't tell me, you came here with your uncle, and you're the owner of that forum? Kyorum nods. Yeah, I run the forum, but I came alone. Che frowns. Then how did you figure out it was me? I used a fake name. Kyorum quietly holds up a piece of paper. From this, it's the note she wrote before. Almost nobody uses their real name, but somehow, you actually did. Che immediately dies inside from embarrassment, especially because because he even knows she wrote it with ketchup. Fine, then why did you ask me to come? Yoon-soo sent you, didn't he? Gyeorum shakes his head. Yoon-soo isn't my partner, and I have nothing to do with him. The way he talks about Yoon-soo catches Chae completely off guard. Wait, are you actually planning to go against him? Gyeorum looks her straight in the eye. I'm going to help you get rid of him, but Chae still doesn't trust him. Gyeorum continues. He won't be able to leave for a while anyway. Then he tells her the button she planted with the body carried the wolf emblem. That symbol belongs only to Yoon-soo. That's why the people above him covered up the investigation and punished him. He's banned from hunting for a month. Then Gyeorum hands her a piece of paper. She opens it and finds an address. That's Yoon-soo's house. You can go there anytime and kill him. Once he's gone, you won't have to keep running anymore. Chae stares at him in disbelief. How am I supposed to kill a vampire? Gyeorum calmly replies, attack him when he's not expecting it. Then he disappears. After getting home, Gyeorum starts panicking over what he just did. He actually told Chae to kill Yoon-soo, the one person who fears absolutely nothing. He forces himself to calm down and goes looking for Yoon-soo, but the house is empty, so he calls him. Yoon-soo answers. He's at the airport. I'm leaving. Gyeorum asks, when are you coming back? Yoon-soo simply says, no idea, maybe when I get hungry. After arriving in Europe, we see Yoon-soo sitting alone in a restaurant. He quietly says, the first time I met that woman was 20 years ago. Now she's an old lady. The world's always changing, but somehow it just keeps getting more boring, and I'm the only one who never changes. I guess that gets pretty exhausting. Meanwhile, Chae finally arrives at Yoon-soo's house. Maybe Gyeorum was telling the truth. All those articles about the bodies disappeared because someone covered everything up, and Yoon-soo hasn't been back to church for a whole week. He's probably being punished. Even this address, I thought it was fake, but it looks real. Then she takes a deep breath. Standing here thinking won't change anything. I need to see it with my own eyes. She steps through the gate, and it slowly opens by itself. Waiting for her is Gyeorum. What took you so long? I gave you that address a week ago. Chae sighs. Relax. Gyeorum replies, he's not here. He's been in Europe for a week. They walk inside. The house is spotless, beautiful, and somehow even creepier because of it. Chae suddenly wants to leave. Wouldn't it have been easier if you killed him yourself? You live with him. Gyeorum shakes his head. I don't know how to kill him. Then why bring me here? Gyeorum says, I once saw Yoon-soo kill another vampire, but I don't remember how. I'm sure the answer is somewhere in this house, because he killed him here. He leads Chae upstairs. The second floor looks completely different from the rest of the house. We need to search here. This place is a secret. Nobody comes in except Yoon-soo. This is Yoon-soo's private library. Chae tells Gyeorum to help search too, but he refuses. She gets annoyed by his attitude, but she has no other choice, so she starts searching by herself. Maybe the proof she's looking for really is hidden somewhere in this room. She picks up a broken glass, and suddenly, a familiar voice echoes through the library. Looks like we've got guests today. You two came together. They slowly turn around and freeze. Yoon-soo is standing right in front of them. Neither of them can believe it. What is he doing here at a time like this? The second Yoon-soo walks in, he looks at both of them and goes, well, this is a surprise. You two are here together? It's been a long time since we've had guests in this house, and Chae herself showed up too. At that moment, Chae starts thinking Gyeorum tricked her into coming here. Yoon-soo looks at her and says, why do you look so tense? You look like a cat that just got caught stealing fish. He gently takes the cup out of her hands and smiles. Since you're already here, I'll go make you something to eat myself. Poor Chae has no idea what he's doing anymore. She just stares at him, completely confused. It's getting late. I should really get going. Inside, she's thinking, God, I seriously hate you, Yoon-soo. But Yoon-soo's expression changes instantly. You're eating. Whether you like it or not, you're eating. Gyeorum finally speaks up. I think she should just leave today, but Yoon-soo cuts him off. I said Chae isn't leaving until she's eaten. Gyeorum freezes. What scares him the most is that Yoon-soo never even asked why Chae was here, or what happened upstairs. Instead, Yoon-soo casually smiles at Chae. So, what do you think of the house? I finally got everything exactly the way I wanted. It's a shame I never had anyone to show it to. The only person who ever saw it, I never got the chance to ask what they thought. Then he suddenly asks, so, how's your sister doing? And Chae quietly answers, she's doing fine. Yoon-soo walks over to the refrigerator, then looks at Gyeorum. Do we still have any meat? The second Chae hears that, her heart almost stops. What kind of meat is he talking about? Gyeorum tells him there's still some left, so Yoon-soo cooks it, places it right in front of Chae, and smiles. Go ahead, enjoy. Chae looks at him. You're not eating with me? I'm already full. I've been eating just fine, thanks to everything you've been bringing me. Hearing that, Chae gets even more terrified. Then Yoon-soo hands her a glass of juice. Try this. If you like it, I'll send some to your house. Chae is too scared to drink it. What if it's blood? But Yoon-soo quietly says, if you drink it, I'll let you leave peacefully. Finish every last drop. So, she slowly drinks it. And to her surprise, it's just normal juice. Chae gets annoyed, storms out of the house, while Yoon-soo just sits there laughing. He was only messing with her, trying to scare her the whole time. After she leaves, Gyeorum looks at him. Why'd you come back so early? I got bored. Then Yoon-soo suddenly finally looks at him. Oh, and one more thing. What were you two doing in my library? Didn't I tell you never to go in there? And why did you bring Che here? Gyeodam finally looks him straight in the eyes. You killed my father, didn't you? You killed him with that broken glass, didn't you? Yoon-soo acts completely confused. What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind? But Gyeodam keeps talking. I remember everything now. Before, all I had were blurry memories. I kept telling myself they weren't real. But the moment I saw that broken glass, everything came back. I remembered it all. I saw you. I saw you kill my father, and you were smiling. Yoon-soo's face changes. You actually saw what happened that day? Gyeodam breaks down. I saw everything. So answer me. Did you kill him or not? Please, give me some excuse. Tell me it isn't true. Yoon-soo lowers his eyes. I can't, because everything you said is true. I really did kill him. Gyeodam walks away, completely shattered. He can't believe Yoon-soo knew all this time and still lived beside him for 30 years without ever Senwile. Yoon-soo realizes something. He always thought Gyeodam was just an innocent child, but he was wrong. Then he remembers the day Sun died, and that's when we learned something shocking. Sun was actually the one who asked Yoon-soo to kill him. Yoon-soo wasn't the villain Gyeodam believed he was. Outside, Gyeodam breaks down in tears. He admits, deep down, he'd always known. He just kept lying to himself. But now that the truth is finally out, he can't accept that Yoon-soo deceived him for 30 long years. Even with all those mixed emotions and the image of Yoon-soo smiling after killing his father burned into his mind, he never knew what to do because Yoon-soo was the only family he had left. He thought the only choice was to stay quiet, pretend nothing had happened, keep living beside him, and hide the fact that he remembered everything. But then, another thought hits him. What if Yoon-soo killed my mother too? If that's true, there's no way I can keep pretending anymore. After today, we can't keep living under the same roof. Meanwhile, the researcher spots Gyeodam walking out of Yoon-soo's house. Something about him feels strangely familiar. Then, all of a sudden, Gyeodam disappears! The researcher freezes. Wait, could that kid actually be one of them? A vampire. And if that's true, then this house has to be their hideout. Then he remembers. Che had walked out of that same house just a little earlier. Don't tell me. Is she one of them too? Later, the researcher meets with someone and asks, so, did you find anything? The man shakes his head. I searched everywhere for Yoon-soo, where he lives, his background, anything, but there's nothing. Not a single trace. The researcher cuts him off. Forget Yoon-soo. Look into someone named Han Che instead. The man explains. She was an orphan. She grew up with her grandmother and her older sister. But the researcher interrupts him. I don't need her life story. I want to know if she has a criminal record or anything suspicious. The man nods. Actually, 6 years ago, she was charged with attempted murder. A witness saw her stabbing her ex-boyfriend with a knife, and she ended up serving 5 years in prison. But here's the weird part. Just 1 year after getting out, she somehow became a taxi driver. Normally, someone with a record like that shouldn't be allowed to have that job. Hearing that, the researcher starts suspecting Che even more. Could she really be just like Yoon-soo? And his mind begins connecting possibilities. After everything that happened, Che can't stop thinking about it. She still can't believe Yoon-soo actually let her walk away that easily. But for the first time in a while, she thinks she can finally breathe. The second she opens her front door, she freezes. Gyeodam is already inside, waiting for her. Finally, you're home! Then Gyeodam asks if he can stay with her for a while. He tells her he got into a fight with Yoon-soo, and while he's there, she can ask him anything she wants about Yoon-soo. He'll answer every question. Che immediately assumes they argued because of what happened when she came to Yoon-soo's house, so she lets him stay. She still thinks he's just a kid, when in reality, he's over 30 years old. Later, she starts asking him the most random questions imaginable. How tall is Yoon-soo? How much does he weigh? Gyeodam sighs. Want me to tell you how many moles he has on his body too? And Che actually goes, yeah, now I'm kinda curious. He looks at her. Are you stupid or what? Stop asking such ridiculous questions. Then, Che finally asks what's really been bothering her. Why is Yoon-soo so obsessed with me? Why won't he leave me alone? Do you know? Or are you just as clueless as I am? Gyeodam tells her it's because she's different. Everyone else always tried to run away from Yoon-soo. She didn't. Che lets out a bitter laugh. It's not like I ever had the chance to run. There's nowhere I could hide from someone like him. He never even gave me that chance. The next day, they go out to eat together. Che smiles and tells him, honestly, if you weren't around, I would have died of boredom this whole week. Then she asks, you're a vampire, so how have you survived on instant noodles for an entire week? Gyeodam shrugs. I've just been getting by with regular noodles. At that exact moment, the researcher is secretly watching them. He's convinced convinced Che is a vampire too, and seeing her with Gyeorum only makes him believe it even more. He decides he's going to burn down Yoon-soo's house, the place he believes is their hideout. He wants revenge, because he thinks Che tricked him. Meanwhile, Gyeorum quietly tells Che something she never expected. A vampire can actually die from starvation. Che immediately stares at him. Then how could Yoon-soo survive? He's banned from hunting for an entire month. Gyeorum shakes his head. They've got a huge emergency supply, so he won't starve that easily. Meanwhile, the researcher heads straight to Yoon-soo's house. He's terrified, but he's determined to burn the place down. The front door slowly swings open on its own. After hesitating for a second, he walks inside. He starts pouring gasoline all over the house, getting everything ready. But just as he's about to light it, someone knocks him out from behind. It's Gyeorum, and he drags him away. When the researcher finally wakes up, Gyeorum has already hypnotized him. He wants answers. He wants to know exactly what the researcher saw the day his mother died. The researcher starts mumbling, "Hansok, where are you?" In his mind, he's looking straight at Gyeorum, but he sees him as Hansok. "I've been looking for you all this time. I even dreamed about you every single day." Gyeorum asks him one question. "Do you remember who killed my mother?" The researcher frowns. "I don't remember much. The only thing I remember is a pair of yellow eyes." Gyeorum immediately asks, "Was it Yoon-soo?" "Yeah, it was Yoon-soo. But how do you even know Yoon-soo? Did you become one of them too? Are you planning to turn me into a vampire?" Gyeorum doesn't answer. He simply walks away, leaving the researcher trapped inside his hallucination. Even hearing the name Yoon-soo hurts him now, and what frustrates him even more is that he still doesn't know who really killed his mother. Meanwhile, the researcher completely loses himself. He starts seeing vampires everywhere. He's convinced they're all coming to kill him. He pulls out a knife and starts swinging it wildly at everyone around him. But here's the terrifying part. Those aren't vampires. He's actually inside Yoon-soo's underground storage, where all of Yoon-soo's human victims are being kept. And in his hallucination, he starts stabbing every single one of them. Then, the fire finally spreads. The house catches fire. The researcher escapes, leaving nothing but flames behind. At that exact moment, Yoon-soo finally wakes up. He's been asleep for an entire week, and now he's starving. Immediately, he notices something's wrong. The smell of blood, the smoke. Neither of them should be there. He assumes Gyeorum must have gone downstairs, maybe to grab some food, but the moment he reaches the basement, he freezes. Every single body has been brutally stabbed. His entire food supply is gone. Then he rushes outside, only to find his house completely engulfed in flames. It couldn't have been Gyeorum. He would never stab people like this, and he'd never burn the house down. Between the overwhelming stress and the unbearable hunger, Yoon-soo's legs finally give out. He collapses to the ground. Around the same time, the researcher jumps into Che's taxi. The second she sees him, she notices he's covered in blood. "What happened to you? Why are you covered in blood?" But he doesn't answer. Instead, because of the hallucinations, he sees Che's eyes turning bright yellow. Without warning, he pulls out a knife and lunges at her. Che desperately tries to stop him. The taxi swerves out of control, crashes, and the researcher is knocked unconscious. Che immediately drives to Yoon-soo's house. When she gets there, she finds him lying on the ground, weak, helpless, barely able to move. She can't believe she's seeing him like this. "So, life's really beating you up, huh? Need some help there?" Yoon-soo actually smiles. "Honestly? Yeah, I really do." Without thinking twice, Che steps right on his hand, finally getting a little revenge. But Yoon-soo just smiles even wider. "You look really happy seeing me like this, but I don't think I'm the only one with problems. You're in just as much trouble as I am." He's talking about the researcher, who's now hunting Che down. Then Yoon-soo makes her an offer. "How about we help each other? And after that, we both walk away. If you help me, I'll leave you alone. You'll be free, and your little problem will disappear too." Che immediately snaps back. "You could have left me alone whenever you wanted. Instead, you've been trying to kill me. I want your word. You'll never kill me, and you'll never come after me again." Yoon-soo smiles. "Smart. You have my word. I'll never come after you again." So Che brings the unconscious researcher over to him, but Yoon-soo isn't satisfied. "I need one more favor. I need to smell fresh blood. Help me, just a little more." Che slowly picks up the knife and cuts the researcher. The instant fresh blood fills the air, Yoon-soo's eyes snap open. His strength comes flooding back. He walks right past Che and immediately attacks the researcher. "As promised, I'll keep my word, on one condition." Che freezes. "One condition? That wasn't part of the deal. Stay away from me." Yoon-soo looks straight at her. "You already know what I am, so I have to keep an eye on you. My condition is simple. You'll come to church every single day. That way, I'll know you're keeping quiet, and I'll keep my promise. I won't touch you. I won't hurt you." After thinking it over, Che agrees, but only if he deletes every photo and disappears from her life forever. She doesn't want to talk about him, think about him, or ever see him again. She wants to erase him from her memory completely. Before leaving, she slaps him across the face, a slap he definitely earned. Then she walks away, leaving him standing in the middle of the wreckage. she gets back into her taxi. For the first time in what feels like forever, she's finally free. And as she drives away, she can't stop herself from crying. Not out of fear this time, but out of pure relief. Later on, we see Che happily sipping on a can of cola. With the biggest smile on her face, she says, "Finally, my freedom's back, and nobody's ever gonna bother me again." Or so she thought. Because out of nowhere, Gyoram sits right next to her. She looks at him and asks, "So, what now? Are you planning to stick with me forever? You're seriously never going back to Yoonsu?" Gyoram shakes his head. "My relationship with Yoonsu is over." Then he casually adds, "And don't forget, I paid to get your taxi fixed." Che immediately rolls her eyes. "Oh, please. Those weren't even your money. They were Yoonsu's." Gyoram shrugs. "Fine, then I'll stay with you until you've paid me back." By this point, Che is completely drunk. She squints at him and suddenly asks, "Wait, you're Yoonsu's son, aren't you?" Gyoram almost chokes. "What? Whose son? What are you even talking about?" Che starts laughing. "Oh, right. I forgot you two hate each other. But honestly, you guys look so much alike." Then she suddenly remembers something. "Oh, I totally forgot to tell you. I actually beat Yoonsu. I even slapped him. You should have seen his face. It was priceless." That's what happens when you mess with Han Che, vampire or not. Gyoram just stares at her. "You slapped him? You actually stood up to Yoonsu and won?" Che proudly nods. "I feel amazing." But later, she's standing outside the church, and suddenly, that confidence is completely gone. "I'm definitely not okay. What if I run into Yoonsu? I really don't want to go in." So instead, she waits outside until the service is over. When Yoonsu finally walks out, his expression is cold, sharp. He walks right past her, without even looking her way, and somehow, that scares her even more. At that moment, she wishes she'd never come. Just then, the older woman from church walks over. "Che, there you are. I've been waiting for you." She checks on her after everything that happened at the cafe. Then she suddenly asks, "Remind me, how old are you again?" "I'm 28. The woman smiles. "So, are you seeing anyone these days? Or is there something going on between you and Yoonsu?" Che immediately shakes her head. "No, absolutely not. Never." The woman looks relieved. "Perfect. Then I want to introduce you to a friend's son. I'm telling you, you two would look adorable together." Che quickly tries to refuse, but the woman has already called him over. His name is Hyun. Che sighs, already feeling bored and trapped. But the moment she sees him, she freezes. And Hyun freezes too. "Han Che? Is that really you?" "So, who do you think Hyun really is? And what do you think Yoonsu's reaction is going to be when he sees Che with another guy? By the way, I noticed this manhwa hasn't been getting the same love as the previous series. So if you want me to keep going, drop a heart in the comments, or just type continue. That'll let me know you want to see how this story ends. Love you guys. Bye!